What's going on, you guys? Rob's Way of the Highway here. Today is Monday, and it has been a rough day on the work side, to say the least. We've had a small email issue, and I'll leave it at that. That being said, still busy. So take a quick minute here to get this vlog recorded. Usually I record several in advance, but I've just been too busy. It's just the way it goes, right? Today's vlog, we're going to talk about battery chargers. Most people have, if they have some sort of equipment, let's say they have a boat or they have lawn equipment, or tractors or whatever, most people have battery chargers, right? You think of a battery charger, you think, well, what do you mean? Yeah, I can recharge AA batteries in my kids' toys and blah, 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 and my cell phone charges off USB. Yeah, there's those. But I'm talking about 12-volt battery chargers, or 6-volt, or even in some cases 24-volt battery chargers that will allow you to record. I'm looking at my camera here. That will allow you to charge batteries. I say, well, Rob, yeah, I got a battery charger. It works fine. Does it, though? You have your grandpa's old charger that's like big and square, and it's got like 2 amps, 10 amps, and 50. Those are your only options. You just plug it in. It's got nothing on it. It may have a little analog meter. Well, those days are over. Those chargers are not good for batteries. There's one brand in particular that I like because I've had great experience with them. There's others out there. You know, this is my way of doing it. That brand is NOCO. This is not a paid endorsement. You know, NOCO is just a good brand in my opinion. I've got several battery chargers from NOCO. I've got battery tenders. I've got jump starters, jump packs, juice packs. Sometimes it hadn't worked. One of my NOCO boost packs didn't work recently when I was trying to jump start my uncle's Hyundai. So, I don't know, that's a whole other video there on booster packs, but the battery chargers that I use are all NOCO, and I particularly use a lot of lithium iron phosphate batteries because I build them myself. These will work with lead acid, they'll work with lithium, right? When you see lithium, like a lithium 12 volt, that's lithium iron phosphate. That's what that is. It's not lithium ion, it's lithium iron phosphate. And these types of chargers are set up to do it. There could be a whole nother video on how you cannot take a regular battery charger and use it on lithium iron phosphate because it's too high voltage and you'll overcharge the battery. Whole nother video. These battery chargers that I have, in my opinion, are the best. I've used others and have had issues with them, not detecting the battery correctly or not working or this or that. So I prefer NOCO. So let's dive right in and take a look at some of the ones that I have. So that being said, we have this little guy here. This is just a 3.5 ampere. This one here is almost like a tender, right? Little baby cables. And I use this one to keep my 12-volt lithium battery charged, which typically stays down here, which my mobile radio is connected to. Yeah, a lot of people say, well, just get a 12-volt power supply for your radio. Yeah, I know that. Except that 12-volt power supply costs, for a good one, costs $150. I already got the lithium battery, and I already got the lithium battery charger. So this is the way I'm powering my radios. Whole other discussion there, right? Anyways, so I got these guys here. We have the tenders that are typically 0.75 amps, and I got this big bad boy here. This is the one I bring with to Canada. When you've been out beating on the battery all day running the trolling motor, this is a 15 amp charger. This will do 12 volt, it'll do 24 volt. It'll do a supply at 13.6, which is only 5 amps. And it'll do a jump charge, so let's say you're trying to jump start a vehicle, this is going to pump power into it. 20 amps is not a lot, right? Like, you need hundreds of amps when you're jumping a vehicle, which is why jumper cables are always better than no matter what, because you're providing direct power through a big 4-aught gauge wire or whatever it is, 2-aught. So this, you know, this is not going to be a replacement to a good set of jumper cables. That's a totally different tool. But anyways, this is, you know, it'll do the AGM plus, it'll do lithium, it'll do repair, and it'll do supply. So say you over discharge, this will only just do 1.5 amps. Normal battery or cold/AGM, and it'll show your percentage on here. This is a very good charger. This is the G15000, which is a 15 amp. This is the G3500, which is 3.5 amp. They have others. Now, the reason I have this little guy and the big guy, other than the fact that 2 is 1, 1 is none, so you should have 3, is the fact that when you go with a big battery charger like this, you can't charge smaller batteries. This is like minimum 60 amp hour or more to charge. This guy here will do the little ones. As you can see there, small 12 volt. I don't know if it'll focus. You know, you could choose. You could do your 3.5 amp 12 volt. You do small. You could do 6 volt, and you could do 12 volt lithium. I've got a couple smaller 20 amp hour packs for my kids' Power Wheels. That's Jeep runs normally on one of these dumpy, dopey batteries. This is like 7 amp hour. So I've got one that's the same size as this. Maybe it's a little taller. And it's a 20 amp hour. You know, you could use that little charger to charge these too. I got a lot of these batteries. Of course, I don't have enough light down here, so let me just whip out my EDC. I've got a lot of these batteries. These are the ones that go in, you know, APC battery backup. So that's another reason why I got that small charger, is that I could charge those little APC batteries with it. So yeah, a little 20 amp hour lithium battery powering my son's Power Wheel. Obviously, lithium's better. It's half the weight. It's double the runtime. So you got to use a little charger for that. This big guy is what I use for most things. Like if I were to get a tender going and I were to charge, let's say, this big 100 amp hour, or I were to charge this big 90 amp hour, or if I were to charge, like, well, my boat starting battery's not there, but I've got this massive, like, for example, if you're using a auxiliary battery to power something, like in this case my sump pump. Now this is all power built in, but let's say you wanted to use this battery. You could take this battery and you could, this is a Group 31, it's a massive battery, about 105 amp hour. Anyways, you use that big charger to charge something like that. So those are the different chargers I have. I've got tenders on pretty much every vehicle except the van. So I've got a tender on the truck. I've got a tender on the Crossfire. I've got a tender on the boat, so that when they're sitting there for long periods of time, you always leave them plugged in, keep the battery topped off. Well, a lot of people just don't do that, you know. And then as the battery gets older, it just sits there, and one day you'll go to start it, and it won't start. And keeping it tendered is a good idea. So I think that you should go out and spend $29 and buy, you know, if you have the capacity, right? Like if you don't want to spend the money, okay, I get it. Or maybe you're living in an apartment and your car's way on the other side of the parking lot and there's no power out. Okay, you're not going to be able to easily tender your vehicle. But to put a battery tender makes sense because it keeps the battery charged, even in the cold. It's good for it. So for $29, you can extend the longevity of your battery in your vehicle, your boat. In this case, my Crossfire, it sits in the garage six months out of the year because it's a sports car and you can't drive it in the winter. You know, you gotta have these things. All these modern cars have tons of electronics in them, and that residual drain, just draining that battery, and then you go to start it, it won't start. Well, if you had a tender on it, there's a better chance that it's gonna start. Now, if it's an old battery and the battery's crapped out, okay, the battery's crapped out. It's not gonna provide enough amperage to, you know, start the vehicle. That's a thing. But a little tiny tender, I think, which is basically just a real low amperage battery charger is what it is a good thing. So I got those on all my vehicles. I've got these two guys here, and that's about it. Not much to talk about other than that. Other than, like I said, I recommend Noco. I think that they make a great product. Again, this is not a paid endorsement. I don't really, you know, I've got several of those jump packs. I've got probably 3 of them. I got one in the van, one in the truck, one in the Crossfire. I have used them to jumpstart cars with dead batteries. However, there has been instances, one instance I've had now, I shouldn't say instances, I've had one instance where that jump starter battery pack didn't work. So again, a good pair of jumper cables is always your best friend when it comes to traveling. We could do a whole other video on some of the things that I travel with in my truck as I deem essential. Like, I would never pull out of my driveway without a pair of jumper cables in my vehicle. I would never pull out of my driveway without some sort of simple tool thing, whether it be screwdrivers and Allen key wrenches and a pair of pliers and a hammer. If I go on long trips, I would never leave home without, you know, checking spare tire pressures and things like that. Things you don't think of, right? Again, whole nother video. But this is my way of doing it. These are my battery chargers I use. I highly recommend them. And that's all I have for you. Thanks for your time.